Radio check, radio check. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first sprint weekend in the 2026 season. First, before we start, quickly to go through the format because we have a couple of changes. Of course, we have now 22 drivers, so there will be some changes to the quali format. We will have 12 minutes SQ1 session where everyone is going to use one set of medium tires, and they really have to be careful because putting a flat spot on that tire, it's not gonna help you very much, and you don't have much you can't really recoup from that. So that will be really interesting to see. I mean, we saw the incident with Hamilton and McLaren. I think it was Norris in FP1, which really damaged Hamilton's tires. So if something like this happens in SQ1, then yeah, it's pretty much, it's gonna be really hard for Hamilton to, or whoever got that incident and flat spot on tires to recover. So we will see how this will go. Then we have a short break and we have SQ2. That's gonna be 10 minutes. Another set of medium tire will be used. And for SQ1 and SQ2, there's going to be 6 drivers that are going to be eliminated because now we have 22 drivers. And now then we have the regular SQ3, the 10 fastest drivers on the soft tire. We are going to set the final grid for tomorrow's sprint race. So tomorrow we are going to have sprint race instead of FP3, and then it's going to be quali session and race session as usual. We have 13 minutes until start, and very soon Tarek is gonna join us for commentary. So I'm gonna be here for just a little bit more. Let's see. Who do you think is gonna get pole position? I mean, Mercedes looks really strong. I think it's gonna be hard to beat them, but also McLaren has looked very good in FP1. So we have Russell, Antonelli, Norris, and Piastri on first 4 positions, and then it's Leclerc and Hamilton, who we still don't know if that Macarena wing is gonna work, but yeah, I guess we're gonna find out today. So let's put a poll and see what you think. Which team will get pole? So team match from Red Bull in FP1, but yeah, this is gonna be the first real quali session for Verstappen since he had that incident in Australia. Yeah, let's see how far Aston can go in a sprint race. Yeah, the sprint race is pretty much made for Aston, I would say, because they might even finish it. It's only 100 kilometers, so they should be able at least to finish the sprint race. They did some laps into FP1. I don't have right now the laps, but yeah. Anyway, if they can finish the race, most likely they're gonna be ahead of Cadillac if they have managed to fix their issues with vibrations and everything. Otherwise, yeah, they're gonna be the last team. In FP1, Lindblad had an issue. He had to stop the car because there was smoke coming out of the cockpit. So I don't know if that is fixed. I would assume so because it wasn't a crash or anything. So the team probably has fixed it. But yeah. What are you guys voting in the poll? So 56% of you thinks that Mercedes is gonna win pole position, 30 thinks that it's gonna be Ferrari, 11% Red Bull, and only 4% for McLaren. McLaren look really good in FP1. I mean, I think they have a chance, but yeah, I think that Maxi tier fans, of course, prefer to see Max on the pole position. I mean, if Mercedes wasn't that far away, let's say, this could turn into a very interesting season. We see McLaren, Ferrari, and Red Bull very close. Yeah, it's just that Mercedes is getting away for now, at least. And there is Tarek in the chat. Hey, Dark Maui, hey, Jay. Welcome back, everyone. The cars will go fast. Fast and slow, yeah. I think Paolo is here, Megatron. Some troubles. I don't know if it's because the rear wing. They also brought some upgrades for the Halo. So basically to improve a bit more the aerodynamics. Now they are directing the air that was hitting the drivers basically in front in the helmet to go a bit up. So it should aid with downforce and aerodynamics. So I don't know how much that makes it better, but obviously they thought that it's good enough to be brought as an update. And of course, the biggest update is their rear wing. We still don't know if this is bringing advantage or not, but I mean, if they have the race pace and they are not in the top, let's say the front row or the second row, that's still good for Ferrari because we saw what kind of starts they have. I don't think it's gonna be that mandatory, let's say, for them to be on the pole position or on the front row with that start they had in Australia. But I guess yeah, teams will start catching up because yesterday in Australia we saw actually Carlos Sainz was the one with the best start and he reached 200 kilometers per hour faster than the Ferrari. So if it's about the engine, I mean, Williams has Mercedes engine, so obviously they're capable of doing such starts. But yeah, we will see if Mercedes and McLaren can figure that out. Until then, on the starts, we're gonna be betting that Leclerc and Hamilton are gaining most position in our bingo cards. I stopped commentating sprint quali. I think Leclerc just used all his battery in Australia. Well, the good thing is that China is kind of the opposite of Australia. And yeah, they can charge more here, so there's not going to be that much of an advantage for Mercedes. Okay, Tarek is ready. and he's gonna join now to continue with the stream.
Hey, Dion. Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Let's do a quick audio check. How's the audio? Can you guys all hear me? Perfect. All right, first sprint quali of the season. Thanks, Dion, again for having me on. Got my coffee ready to rock for this one. And very interested to see how things play out. Was just catching up with the FP1 results because I was fast asleep at 3:30 this morning, but certainly very encouraged to see the McLaren's times up there. Still a little way off the Mercedes, but I think one of the big things that we got going on this weekend is have the other Mercedes engines runners, McLaren, Williams, and Alpine as well potentially, started to get the hang of that Mercedes power unit, and I think we'll see our first evidence today. Marianne, good morning. Good morning to the Netherlands. I just moved back from the Netherlands, actually, so you are dialing in from my old backyard. So if we take a quick look at this poll, Mercedes 56, Ferrari 29 for pole position. I think that broadly reflects, I think, the narrative that we see across this weekend, which is can Ferrari challenge Mercedes even more this weekend? Of course, there's the Macarena wing, ready to show us what it can do. I mean, also those starts last weekend, and there was a lot of discussion over the last couple of days around this start procedure, which of course is not changing for China this week, but there have been some big debates between the teams about whether to change the start procedures, and of course Ferrari relatively reluctant to do that. So, question in the chat, I'm confused which engine provider is partnered with Aston Martin. It is Honda. Thank you, Megatron. And Honda, very up and down record with engines in Formula One, but of course, notably, absolutely smashed it with Red Bull in 2023. Not so much smashing it now under the new regulations with how much time pressure they've been under to prepare alongside Aston Martin, of course. So a little tension there, but so far there haven't been any major fallings out. It's not just the Honda engine which Aston are struggling with. There are some other aspects to the chassis and everything too. But let's see if they can finish a full race distance for the Grand Prix on Sunday. Certainly hoping they get through the sprint. Those of you playing the bingo card will see that there's a couple of picks there for Aston Martin, a long shot for both of them to finish. And a safe bet that one of them will retire before 50% race distance. So let's see how that one plays out. And of course, there are some picks, especially for the sprint weekend this time. Will we have the same driver win the sprint and the Grand Prix? And can 8 teams score points between the sprint race and the Grand Prix as well? I think we actually had 8 teams score points last weekend, so not a crazy one. All right, I think we must be getting ready here for the green light. I'm just going to try and see if I can also get the broadcast up on another window over here. There we go. What are you guys feeling about sprint weekends for this season? Is there generally a good feeling about this format here? Are we excited about what that looks like under these new regulations? There's definitely been quite mixed views about that over the last few seasons. Personally, more racing is more racing. Sometimes they create great races and sometimes they don't, but certainly more racing is not a bad thing from my perspective. Megatron on the fence about sprints. I think that's a general feeling, isn't it? If we didn't have them, would we feel like we were really missing out a ton? So just looking at the FP1 timings, certainly Mercedes setting the 2 fastest laps by a solid stretch there. What do we think? Are we going to see the same kind of gap in qualifying? I think it was 7/8 tenths last week in Australia. We're about to find out whether it's that same kind of gap here, but obviously 28% of you think Ferrari will be pushing for pole position today and getting it. Leclerc or Hamilton, I think, is the question. We're on track. Number 44 on pole, Danfield. Why not? Did pretty well last year. Sounds like only 21 cars actually going to be running on track for sprint quali. I think it was at Perez who's not coming out. Not a great sign for Cadillac. All right. Hadjar is on track right now. This is the first indication that we're also really going to get about top speed lap in a qualifying lap here. Like, how does this car actually sound? How much lift and coast are they going to be doing to sort of manage the energy around this qualifying lap? And of course, we've got Hadjar now coming up towards that back straight. Let's hear how it sounds down that back straight. That's been big chat with these hybrid 50/50 hybrid engines here. How are they going to do at the end of the straight here? Oh. You can definitely hear the power drop there for like the last 20% or so of the straight. All right. First time up there on the board, a 134. Actually, I've just lost the live timing on the stream here, so I'm just going to make sure I get that back. Anfield de Red, do you think we're going to see Hadjar above Max again in qualifying? Well, let's see about that. If he does, there is actually a pick on the pick board that Hajar outqualifies Max more than once this season. And that still will include SQ1 as well. So that would be a good showing from him. All right, so we do have 44 right now, right at the top of the tables there with Leclerc, actually a decent amount behind. I keep losing the live timings there. Not a bad little lap from Hulkenberg there, popping up into P2. Wow. Fourth position for Behrman. Laps are coming in thick and fast right now, but of course Mercedes still to show their hand. Everyone on the medium tyre. Right, now let's see what McLaren's hand looks like. Oh, listening to Oscar down the straight. Definitely some... it definitely sounds very different, doesn't it? The fastest way around the lap may not actually sound like going the fastest possible all the way up until the braking zone there. Okay, there it is. Okay, so we're starting to see now the Mercedes are showing their hand. And it is a pretty chunky gap there. So Russell with a good 4/10 on Antonelli and a further 7/10 back to Hamilton. So certainly the McLarens look like they are punching a lot closer to the Ferraris this time around. All right. Come on, Williams. Let's see what you got. Let's see if the operating manual for this PU made itself apparent in the last week or so. As I understand it, Williams have been shaving a little bit of weight every week as well to put some more performance on the car. Okay, Leclerc up to P2, Hamilton P4. So they're up there. Ooh. Okay, so Williams not showing massive outright pace here in the sprint quali. Sainz 15th, Albon 17th. I think probably most of us were really egging them on to try and see if they can get a little bit higher up on the grid this time. I think everyone's second favorite team. Certainly want to see Sainz and Albon getting the car they deserve there. So Hulkenberg there wasn't able to put any improvement on that lap there, but still up in P7 right now. Let's see how things evolve. Seeing Audi show some pace in qualifying though is pretty encouraging. Of course, Gabriel scoring points last week there. Fantastic result for Audi. Ugh. Yeah, so Bortoletto just had a little off there. That was a shame. It was looking like a pretty good lap. Hadjar and Verstappen not really got an answer right now for Mercedes. Still 2 sectors in, and 7, 8 tenths off the pace there. But still very close together in times for Hadjar and Max. So 134.4 and a 134.1. So, okay, Max a little bit faster there, but Verstappen still down in P8. Yeah, I mean, I have to say that like the timings here in the midfield. I mean, Red Bull is right now mixing it in the midfield with Racing Bulls, with Haas, Ocon up to P8. Really hope Ocon makes a bit more of an impression on the race this weekend. So looking at that drop zone, Albon has to fish himself out, has to get himself out of the drop zone here. Now Sainz is down there. Come on, Carlos. Carlos not making it through to SQ2. Wally Behrman just had a little mistake there in the last corner on his last lap. Did well to keep it on the black stuff in the end. Sainz and Albon both to drop at SQ1. So our bottom 6 right now, SQ1. From the bottom up, Perez, who hasn't set a time, Bottas, Stroll, Alonso, Albon, and Sainz. So you've got the Cadillacs, the Astons, and the Williams, the bottom 3 cars, and it does seem as though that is cementing the situation there that Williams really is one of the bottom 3 for outright pace right now. Ninth fastest car over 1 lap. There is a pick on the bingo card this week, guys, for one of those teams scoring points between for the Grand Prix. And that is a 10-pointer. I think Dejan's put that one on his card. So probably the smartest 10-pointer. If something goes really wrong in the race, then there are points up for grabs. All right, let's check out the actual gaps here on the timing sheets. So I seem to keep this thing alive. So look at this gap at the top now. only a tenth and a half for Ferrari being off Mercedes. Now, I don't like that. For me, is the one takeaway. It's not the one takeaway, but actually probably one of the most encouraging things that we should be watching out for now in SQ2 and SQ3. We all know Leclerc is an absolutely master qualifier and brings it in the session we need it. So, can he do it? He's also, in my memory, chat, tell me if you think that this is a thing or not. But I think Leclerc's also got an excellent record in sprint qualifying, especially from memory. But Hamilton ahead right now. You know, Hamilton probably one of the best qualifiers of all time. You know, you would have said 2 years ago for sure the best qualifier of all time. Maybe he's now going to start showing us what he's got once again, and I think nothing would make us happier. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, of course, Hamilton absolutely nailed the sprint last year. Trust Leclerc, but not Ferrari. Well, yeah, I mean, it's a team that sometimes you just wonder what it would be like to be inside, doesn't it? From the outside, very difficult to really understand what goes on inside the walls of Ferrari. So we've got, I mean, I think we just have to sort of call it as it is right now. The top 4 teams this week, Red Bull may not end up looking like that at the end of this qualifying session. We've got the Mercedes and the Ferrari and the McLarens. Good to see McLaren slightly closing that gap there, but then we got Gasly, Hulkenberg, Ocon. There's some real competition right now in the midfield on that 1-lap pace. Session is not over. We've only just done SQ1, so there are still 2 more sessions to go. I believe 10 minutes for SQ2 and 8 minutes for SQ3. So there are just a few minutes to go until we see the cars out on track again, and then we will see the top 16 cars duke it out for another 10 minutes. So what happened to Perez? I'm just going to look that up. I just heard it on the beginning of the commentary here that he had an issue. I'm not sure what his issue was though. Didn't even get out on track. The sprint qualifying format is actually great. It's just it's ripping fast. Hardly any turnaround time. Less time for messing around with the warm-up laps and all this stuff. You have to do the lap when it counts. What happened to Perez for SQ1? Fuel system identified as an issue after the earlier practice session. Yeah. SQ2 is actually already beginning, guys. The clock is ticking. The 10 minutes are ticking down here. Green light on the pit lane. Cars out on track again. So what we're looking out for in SQ2 right now is that gap between Ferrari and Mercedes actually something which is going to repeat here. If you notice the timing of when those laps came up, Mercedes weren't really fighting for flying laps at the end of that session. It was Ferrari who came back to an answer for Mercedes. So Mercedes didn't need to do another lap, and therefore may have just decided there to chill out, let the session play out, and then just save a set until they need it. Can someone confirm, Shoba? Can someone confirm? Sorry, RA007. If Aston Martin are in the competition, if what you mean by that is are they on track? They are on track. Well, they were on track, but not anymore. Knocked out in SQ1. I think it's, I mean, look, I can see in the chat here, Williams are done and Red Bull are done, Aston are done. Certainly it looks like they are starting. All of them have challenges which put them on the back foot here. And right now, we're definitely starting to see a pattern crystallize, but it is a long season. It's a long season. And of course, qualifying is tending to accentuate those pace differences, race pace a little closer than qualifying pace in terms of the field spread. So I think let's judge what happens on the points scored this weekend. We still have to see as well how these cars stand up from a reliability perspective across multiple races. Power units, there's a pool of those. You only get to use a certain number of those every year. And the wear on those starts to show up after a few races. When you start people seeing sort of changing power units between races, those things can make a big difference. And let's also remember McLaren were absolutely nowhere maybe 3 seasons ago, and within a season really became title contenders for both drivers and constructors. So a lot can happen. And the amount of low-hanging fruit there is on learning these new engines as well is something where we might see that the curve of improvement really start to be different between teams. So we got some people on track right now. So a 133.999 for Behrman. Actually, if you compare that with even Max and Hajal's lap times from SQ1, solid lap from Behrman, solid lap from Gasly. So track may be evolving here. I mean, Hajal slotting in behind Gasly. Verstappen only 7 milliseconds ahead of Gasly. So we're looking at Red Bull and Alpine being comparable on pace right now. So we're seeing oh my God. Okay. Look at that. That's a statement. I mean, it looked, when we're talking, stealing pole and the rest of that, Verstappen, Gasly, Hajar, yeah, Ferrari come out and Leclerc puts almost a second on the field. And Mercedes are just sitting there waiting to do their nice dramatic late entry here and nail it. And let's see what they've got. Piastri splits the Ferraris, but half a second between the McLaren and Leclerc. Antonelli going top there, and Russell then, of course, taking it away with 0.3 on Antonelli. So it does look like you've got Leclerc and Antonelli are going to be trading blows for a spot on the front row here. George still a few tenths clear. Now, how's it looking? How's it looking more at the bottom of the table right now? Let's see who's struggling to make it through to SQ1, SQ3. Ooh. Yeah. So Lando's definitely appealing there for Antonelli, blocking him on a push lap. We'll keep our ear to the ground there and see if that's something which actually sounds like it may end up becoming a bit of an issue. Yeah. Is the Mercedes engine legal? It is legal under the regulations as they stand, and they're not going to be changing for a little minute. I think the changes that the FIA are looking at are more procedural in the near term. Red Bull look okay. Max is hard to write off. You can never write him off, but right now it's very difficult to imagine him putting a proper lap in to fight from the front. But I mean, we saw what happened last weekend, of course, from P20 on the grid. It may be actually a lot more about what happens in the race. So we're looking for the bottom six. Colapinto, Lindblad, Behrman, Lawson, Bortoletto, and Ocon. Hulkenberg right now looks like he's coming into SQ1. Let's see. Hadjar could not improve from P9. So not safe at the moment, Hadjar. The last 90 seconds here of SQ2 before the flag goes, where, of course, if you cross the line, you can still get your lap in. There's still a lot more laps to come here. Yeah, Behrman still has to get a proper lap in. There was a mistake on his first one, so hopefully we see him pop up from P14. Piastri splits the Ferraris once again. It looks pretty tight. I mean, everything from Antonelli to Hamilton to Norris, in fact, even 132.3 to 133.1. So okay, there's still a few tenths there, but Behrman through up to P7. Hadjar on the bubble right now. Hulkenberg P11. It looks like he's not gonna get another lap in, so he is P11 right now. The Racing Bulls and the Red Bulls going around the track together and actually fighting. Lawson could not threaten the top 10. Let's have a look at Ocon. Ah, 12th across the line there for Ocon. So the Red Bulls, 9 and 10 at the end of SQ2. I definitely did not anticipate that for this session. Max Verstappen out into the gravel there, ruining his lap there. So we do get a chance to see the Red Bulls have another crack at it and see where they will land in the pecking order of the top 10. Then we really get a chance to land them in the pecking order for qualifying now. And let's take a quick look now at how those midfield cars look in the top 10. Behrman and Gasly both really punching above their weight here. There's a pick on the bingo card for Behrman this week, guys, if he finishes in the top 8. And of course, last week he did. This is for the Grand Prix I'm talking about now. Lindblad in the top 8 as well is on the card. Of course, he's not going to be making it through to SQ1, which is not necessarily the best indicator, but it's for the Grand Prix where the points are scored when it comes to the bingo card. I totally agree with Dark Mayal. Gasly is very underrated. If he was in a top team, he would be winning races. I mean, what he's getting out of that Alpine has been insane since he joined the team, really. Behrman is definitely for me the one to watch this season when it comes to the younger drivers. Obviously, there's a destination for him to go to as well with Ferrari if things are looking good and when Lewis eventually does retire. But I mean, just to watch him anyway progress. Like, he finished the season last year with really good momentum. He's kicked off this season with really good momentum. The Haas looks like you can do something with it. It's really fighting near the top of that midfield. We got to keep an eye on him. Yeah, that racing guy. There was inconsistency. Made a lot of mistakes, it's true. But he did, since the Netherlands, I think, the Dutch Grand Prix last year, really actually get a string of good results together. Of course, that P4 in Mexico, a massive highlight, and what was probably the best Mexican Grand Prix I've seen in several years. So exciting in the midfield too, to see Audi, Haas competing in there, and the Racing Bulls, who don't look quite as quick today as they did last week, but still, we've got to keep watching them. And then to see Gasly put this Alpine up here is really encouraging, because it just means that there is real drama. Now, that's SQ2 done. We are counting down to SQ3. And we want to see if a Ferrari can finish ahead of Antonelli, maybe. Look, is Leclerc potentially going to threaten Antonelli up there at the top of the times? Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren, Red Bull, current pecking order. Am I right, sir? I think that is the accepted wisdom. Yeah, I mean, certainly on the championship table, that is the pecking order. But I mean, look, judging by today, we just have to see how this plays out, because right now Red Bull are P9 and P10, and so Red Bull as a team are being out qualified by an Alpine and a Haas. So we have to see if that is a pattern which maintains. But that's definitely the kind of accepted pecking order right now. But it's also something that you have to look at, not just on a team basis but a driver basis as well, because we have yet to see how Hadjar performs consistently in that Red Bull. The hope, of course, is that Red Bull are not a one driver team, and I don't know. I definitely back Hadjar to bring it to the table this season. Mattia reckons Ferrari is the fourth strongest team on the grid behind McLaren and Red Bull. Well, what's the basis for that one, Mattia? It's Mattiate. I'm not quite sure how to say your handle there, but what's the basis for that? I would say that probably what we've seen so far would imply that actually Ferrari is probably just behind Mercedes. Yeah, I think what we can probably hope for in SQ1 here, SQ3, sorry, is that we don't just see all the cars go two by two, right? You know, we've got the Mercedes blue and then Ferrari red and then Papaya, etc. But like if we start to see, you know, a Leclerc ahead of an Antonelli or a Piastri ahead of a Hamilton, then at least it starts to look like we're going to have more of a fight up there at the top end of the spectrum. All you bongos already forgot Hadjar P3 Quali. Everyone's so quick to judge and forget. Well, I don't think anybody's forgotten about that one. I think it's just a case of we should not be too quick to judge. We have to see a few more data points here. We're really just looking at sprint qualifying. We definitely probably shouldn't be freaking out yet about how Red Bull is doing, but every session that goes by is one that just gives us a little bit more data, and of course, every track is a little bit different. Ferrari doesn't have an engine to compete with them except in reliability. Max's and McLaren's race pace is better in Australia at many moments. Yeah, perhaps. I think what matters is what happens when you cross the line. Um, and of course, like what race pace really looks like over the course of the race is a really interesting thing to even try and get a grip on because the way that's working with these batteries is that the variability in lap times is much higher. Much higher, right? It's a question about when you're really deploying battery and when you're not. So it's actually a lot harder to sort of gauge race pace. It's like you have to kind of take a more average view of race pace rather than just looking at specific sections of the race. But let's see. You may end up being right, and you may end up seeing McLaren ahead of the Ferraris. But right now, certainly points to Ferrari right now being kind of second in the pecking order. All right, so SQ3 is underway. Yeah, actually, as Alex Jake said, Kim out of the two Mercedes drivers, Kimi's the only one who's actually had a sprint pole. George has never had a sprint pole. George has definitely had the edge so far, but let's see what Kimi can do. Kimi getting his first Grand Prix win is on my bingo card this weekend. It's going to be on there every weekend until he does it. I think he's one that I'm root for with my head and my heart. Let's see. A little scrappy in sector 2 there from Antonelli. Whoa. Okay, so Kimi's coming up to the end of sector 3 here to set a time. Purple sector 2 for him. Let's see how he finishes up. 31.8. 131.5. So George brought that back in the third sector. It looked like after sector two. That Ashley Kimmy might be faster there, but a 131.8 for Kimmy is still a great lap, but 3/10 now off George. So Hamilton ahead of Leclerc there. 6/10 off Russell. And ahead of Charles Leclerc. Leclerc surely will get another lap in there. I think there's something must have gone up with his lap to be that far off Hamilton. Verstappen putting in a time 1.7 seconds off George. And things may be going a little bit differently now that they're on the soft tyre. All right, it's game time. One shot, soft tyre. Yeah. So Verstappen 1.7 seconds off, and that doesn't seem like there was a mistake. It looks like that was a faster lap in SQ3 than it was in SQ2. So is that Max's pace? Is that Verstappen's pace on this soft tyre, right? He's definitely going to be vulnerable to Piastri, to Norris, to Gasly, to Behrman, and possibly, of course, his own teammate. So this is quite an exciting end, actually, here to sprint qualifying. So Antonelli back on track. Yeah, all or nothing for Gasly and Behrman. I mean, they're in SQ3 now. They just got to go for it. Leclerc bottles sector 2 on the first lap. Yeah, well, that's definitely good to hear, Harry, because that time obviously was not great. But we know that he's not going to have a problem bringing a good lap when it counts. Everything looks a bit yellow at the moment in terms of improving at times. So lots of yellow sectors. Nobody seems to be improving yet. Let's see if sector 3 brings any improvements. No, he's still behind George. So neither George nor Kimi have improved. So Russell's still sitting on sprint pole at the moment, but Leclerc is improving as we expected, of course. Let's see where he can top out. Tidy. Still a second off the pace, and Hamilton ahead. So no change for Leclerc. All right, now let's see how everybody else comes out. These are the guys who are really doing like the one-shot wonders for SQ3. Gasly coming through to cross the line. There we go. Gasly ahead of Verstappen. Whoa. Norris tops the Ferraris. Just 200ths ahead of Hamilton. Piastri touching the gravel. Splits the Ferrari. So the McLaren and the Ferrari times are close together. Come on, Isaac. Let's see what you got. He's 10th. Hajar is 10th, 2.2 seconds off. Okay, we have a Mercedes 1-2. George Russell, 3 tenths clear. And the real change, I think, this time around is the gap is a little bit smaller and between Mercedes and the rest, and we've got the McLarens really up there fighting with the Ferraris. And the Red Bulls do not look as quick. Yeah, let's see. I mean, if we think about what the consequences of that qualifying session will be for that sprint race tomorrow. Then, yeah, I mean, you've got so Leclerc is back in P6, Hamilton on P4. So yeah, I mean, I see the comment there in the chat there from Bubbles, Hamilton P1 into the first corner. Possibly, it's not a massively. I'm just trying to think about how long that run down to turn one is in Shanghai. It's not the longest run down into turn one, but they don't seem to need neither. It wasn't in Melbourne, probably even shorter as well. So we just have to watch out for those starts. Of course, there's a McLaren in front of them now as well. George Russell's first sprint pole here in China. I've got a feeling there's going to be a few more of those to come. I was never on the boat named Leclerc is faster than Hamilton. Yeah, I mean what's definitely clear is we're definitely going to see a lot more competition between the two of them this year under these new regulations. Hamilton seems comfortable by comparison to this time last year, and this may end up being right. This is his second season at Ferrari. This may end up being the year that, especially if Ferrari continue to do well in the development race, that actually he can show us that a real hero story, right? Come face the struggles in season one and really take it to the field in season two. And if Ferrari do well, then who knows? Who knows? So that is definitely that's definitely promising for tomorrow. I think what we want to be looking out for tomorrow is of course the starts, but I think we want to see if McLaren are really fighting Ferrari on race pace. The sprint race being a short burst will give us an indicator as well ahead of the Grand Prix, of course. We want to be seeing as well that fight in the midfield and see if Audi can be pushing up into that top 10 to see if the race pace of the Red Bull helps them recover. Just going to listen to these quick interviews here and play back anything which is useful to you guys. George Russell saying quite predictably how awesome things are, how quick it felt, different to Melbourne. So what George is saying there in his post-race interview is that the big focus for Mercedes since Melbourne has been getting off the line quicker. No surprise there. That is where their competition have a bit of an advantage right now. But I mean, look at that. He's got six tenths on Hamilton and a second on Leclerc in qualifying here, and now has Lando as buffer as well back to Hamilton. Yeah, one other thing Alex Jakes is actually saying there is that if you, and actually this was definitely any of you guys watching the onboards may have noticed this, but like when you watch Mercedes on that long back straight, it definitely felt like there was a lot more harvesting and deceleration going on at the end of that straight, and oddly, that may be one of the reasons why they're actually quick around the lap. So this knowledge of the engine and knowing when to push and pull energy from the battery is certainly an advantage that they have, but that's also the kind of advantage that may not last that long as McLaren and Williams and Alpine also start to get the hang of that. There's been quite a lot of chatter about Mercedes' knowledge, of course, as the works team and the supplier for those engines being a major advantage for them, while all of their customers are still trying to figure out how to use that engine. It looks like McLaren definitely found a bit of time there, at least judging by sprint qualifying, and we can see how that translates into race pace over the course of tomorrow. You cannot sleep on McLaren. They are double world champions in the last 2 seasons, and of course with the drivers, and they know how to develop a car. They know how to find pace, and I think we see a little hint of that here in sprint qualifying, but we will have to have a look over the course of the weekend. So, chat, I think the action for today is now done. We have some new information until, of course, we see the fun and games in the sprint race. On the bingo card itself, there are a few picks here which reflect the sprint race, like I was saying at the beginning of the session. So, if you want to join the league, head to bingo.trace.fan. I think there is a league invite. Diane, I don't know if the league invite is actually in the stream right now. There we go. Inspector's got our backs. There's the league invite. So if you want to join in, join there. I think last time I checked, actually, you had nearly 400 players now playing in the Racing Statistics League. It definitely has picked up. 356 players that you guys have at the moment. If I just hit refresh, yeah, 356. So actually, this game is also live with McLaren's Discord community, and Racing Statistics League is actually almost the same size as that, which is fantastic to see. Every race is a chance to top the tables for each race weekend. Of course, scores compound across the season, but it's definitely worth, even if you are joining for the first time this race, to get on the Racing Statistics podium. And there are some really solid picks in here. I mean, Dejan actually has his picks up on screen right now. So we've got Dejan. This is what Dejan's going for, right? He's going for the Ferrari podium, which, by the way, I've got some stats for you. 59% of players right now are backing a Ferrari podium. One Aston Martin finishes retires, before 50% race distance for the Grand Prix, that is. So that does not count for the sprint. That is just for the Grand Prix. Also a safe bet right now. 4 or more cars retiring. And I see that you've gone for, we hear zero team radio complaining about batteries, which the reason that we put that one on there was because we did not hear that much team radio last week. Unless you went on the onboards and then you started to hear all the drivers like talking a lot about energy deployment and complaining about batteries, but Formula One did not air any of it at all, and that was interesting. So let's see if we actually hear anything about any complaints. Hearing the word Macarena is pretty much a dead set. I mean, whether Ferrari actually put that wing on or not, I think we'll hear it referred to in commentary. So you have ballasted your card here with some solid safe bets, Diane. Should we have a look at the maybes? Scroll down a little bit. Yeah. So we're scrolling down. Sorry, there's a bit of a lag here between what I see on the screen. So Bottas finishing ahead of Perez. Well, certainly for tomorrow's race, that looks right. But for the Grand Prix, we'll have to see until after qualifying. And a driver gains 5 or more places on lap 1. I mean, it's there as a maybe. I think those feel like solid points, but the starts are going to the starts are going to probably be a little bit different this time around. So we'll have to see how that plays out. And I do think you've got a long shot on your card too, Dion. And if I'm not mistaken, it's that somebody from Williams, Cadillac, or Aston Martin scores points this weekend, which I think is probably the smartest 10-pointer on the card. But a Ferrari 1-2 is also on there, and that is definitely a popular pick this weekend. Let's see if I can have any quick stats for you on that one. I'm just going to look in our back end at what the picks are looking like. Lance Stroll having a classified position should give 10 points. Yeah. Well, actually, I mean, all he has to do. I mean, last week, Lance was literally like a zombie. Like they both were, because I think they put Alonso back into the race as well for a little while after he came off, but he did not cross the line classified. And Lance being 15 laps down, not classified, but technically not being a DNF, definitely screwed with a lot of people's bingo cards last week. Certainly screwed with mine. Certainly screwed with Grash's as well. So what have we got looking like in terms of the picks? Okay, China Grand Prix, top picks. Ferrari podium, 58%. We hear the battery and post-race interview, 49%. Toto Wolff looks into the camera, 39%. If we go down to the top 10-pointer, it is indeed Williams, Aston, or Cadillac score points. That full send pick worth 10 points, 29% people picked that. And here's something funny for you. Russell doesn't win, 26%. Russell wins, 26%. And he is the top winner pick right now. Leclerc is next at 22% of picks. A Ferrari 1-2 is a full send. The next full send pick down at 21% as well. So out of the full sends, Ferrari 1-2 and the Williams and Aston or Cadillac scoring points seem like the top picks there. Yep, Harry, Audi scoring double points could be possible if the lower top 10 has a crash. And yeah. Well, certainly they look quick enough to have someone in the points, and they did last week. Getting both in the points obviously does lengthen the odds quite a bit. It will depend on some luck, but that one hasn't cracked into the top 20 picks. But we will see. There have been around 3,000 cards submitted so far, which is amazing. We actually did not have that many by this time last week, and the stats are always changing. Okay, the session is done, guys. And you can see on the stream here how things have panned out with the Mercedes in 1-2 with a decent margin, but not as big as it was in Melbourne. And this is a longer track too, actually. So in terms of percentage margins, the percentage margin is certainly lower. We've got McLaren up there fighting the Ferraris. We've got Gasly punching above his weight. And we have the Red Bulls struggling to find some pace, especially in comparison to the others on that soft tyre. And they certainly will be counting on a good start and some solid race pace to even pick off any points at all in tomorrow's sprint race. So I think I will jump off the stream now. Thank you so much, guys, for joining the stream. Don't forget to like and subscribe Racing Statistics. 155k looks like it was broken. Congratulations, Diane. Well done. And I'm sure that we'll see many of you back in here in the stream over the course of the weekend. If you do want to join the Racing Statistics Bingo League, find the link in the chat. And don't forget to check out also the community section on Racing Statistics, where Dion is posting his picks and the link. Thank you, Inspector Seb, for dropping the link there once again. And this is a lot of fun. I really enjoy being here with you and doing my best to call the action here at the same time as check the timings and the broadcast and to be able to say something useful for you. So I hope to see you again on stream, and I'll be watching out for what happens with everybody's picks this weekend. Thank you so much for having me.